Well, there was a lot of doom and gloom going into it. You know, almost 3 months of frustration on the takeover front, on the managerial front, and yet Newcastle probably put in a reasonably decent performance.
Well, it did. When you throw in Tim Krul's performance, I think that was obviously a major factor. I think without him, it would have been a good, pace and probably 4-5-1. I mean, it's easy to say now when you count up all the saves at the end, but on the counter-attack, Newcastle probably looked quite dangerous as well. Looked decent going forward, but I would have took a point before kick-off, so it's probably the best possible start to the season when you throw all that into consideration.
I mean, you've seen plenty of Tim Krul in reserve team action. People that have only see the first team, they've had to wait a long time to see him again since Palermo over sort of 2006. It was just deserves though, because he's been playing at a good level for a long time, and he obviously did well on loan spell at Carlisle as well. Yeah,
I mean, he was at Carlisle last season and Falkirk the season before, and on both occasions he's done himself no favours, plenty of favours by pulling off some good performances. But now, does Chris Hughton stick with him on Saturday for the big one against Reading?
It's a headache, isn't it? I don't know where we stand medically with concussion and Steve Hartwell. That will remain to be seen. But certainly, looking at Krul's performance, to drop him after that would be very, very cruel, as it were. That was unintentional.
Yeah, I like it.
I suppose the one biggest area of concern is that he was so busy. Again, as you said, Newcastle played quite tiredly, especially on the break, and yet they carved out at least 4 clear chances to win the game. That was a big worry for me, and again, at the centre of your defence, Fabrizio Colaccini, he may be on his way. The sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned. I'd probably like to see Thomas Caddard just come in anyway, because Colaccini at the moment, Newcastle might think they're putting him in the shop window, but he's not doing himself any favours on that front either.
No, I mean, from what I saw, he's rolling around on the floor, fouling people. I mean, I've just never been 100% convinced by him. I mean, he did have some half-decent performances at the start of last season, and then obviously the bottom fell out in Newcastle United's world, and he seemed to fall with it. And I just think, it poses the question: how could anybody ever pay £10 million for a player of that calibre and pay him £71,000 a week? It just beggars belief, really.
It's the latest in a long line of players that we asked that question about. All of whom seem to sort of end up at Newcastle United. Another player earns a considerable amount of money, Joey Barton, on the bench on Saturday, and very lucky to be on the bench by all accounts.
Yeah, I think beforehand there was obviously something went on at the training ground. All of a sudden he wasn't in the squad, then he was in the squad, and then he ended up on the bench, and he came on maybe as a token gesture, but Joey Barton, I mean, how many chances is he going to have, I mean, he wouldn't be at the club if Alan Shearer was here. That's something we do know. Chris Hughton really his position is only a holding role, and he's probably, I wouldn't say powerless, but he's got limits to what he can do. You know what I mean? So I feel sorry for Chris, because that's the last thing he probably would have needed going into such an important game. But if it's a political thing just to bring him on as sub, then I'm not too sure about that. I don't know what you think.
Well, I mean, I think that's an outrage if it's true. Yeah. And the fact is, you put the 11 players or the 15, 16 players in the squad, the people that are willing to play for you. If the guy's not even willing to train properly under certain people at the club, then he just doesn't deserve his place on the coach. I'm like you. How many chances can you give the guy before concluding, he's beyond help? Yeah. Again, he's one that if they get any sort of bid for him, I'd get shot like absolutely double quit, because if he is causing problems or not relishing and not joining in training, then that type of attitude just sort of seeps in, and it creates problems where there aren't problems. And let's face it, Newcastle have got enough problems in other areas. They don't need problems day to day on the training ground.
Definitely not. I mean, to be totally honest, if I was manager, and that's not going to happen, obviously, but if someone came in and says, look, we'll take him off your hands for nothing, I'd say, right, off you go, son. Yeah. I would definitely get rid of him, and I mean, I think that's pretty obvious for all to see, and it would be a case of good riddance. Yeah. Again, Saturday played very tidily, but the service into the box, maybe from wide areas especially, wasn't great. When you've got two big lads, certainly, I mean, Andy Carroll would thrive on aerial service. Charlotte was hit and miss again, as he usually is, but
the quality from midfield. I know obviously the move for the goals was excellent, probably as good as we've seen from Newcastle for 6 months maybe.
It was very good.
But in terms of the service to the front men, if you're going to play those two up front, it really needs to be better.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
See if that can improve on Saturday.
Well, it has to. Again, there's issues there. Does Kazenga Lualawa deserve a shot? Things to be discussed over the next few weeks, certainly.
Definitely.